Pig and Whistle Tales from Azeroth. As always, here at the Pig and Whistle Inn in Stormwind, I go through a variety of subjects with regards to World of Warcraft. I grab a bottle or a pint, sit back and enjoy this. I was going to say midweek episode. This is definitely not midweek. This episode will be going over 10.1 again and going over my thoughts about it so far. Obviously, I am EU, so I've had it for the best part of 2 days. 2 days where I could fully play it. 3 days for NA, obviously, because they are lucky. And yeah, we're going to be going over the new zone, quests, items, how ult-friendly it is, talent trees that have been mixed and matched, and just how fun it is in general, essentially. We do have the weekly news, as always. Basrikron, yes, I said that right, is the world boss for this week. He is located in the Waking Shore. Wrath, Time Walking, and Dragonflight dungeon bonus event this week. So Wrath the Lich King Time Walking offers reputations, mounts, toys, stuff like that. And Dragonflight dungeon bonus, it just means that you get an extra piece of loot in a dungeon. Very straightforward. The brawl for this week is South Shore versus Terra Mill. This is a 40 versus 40. Make sure your PC can handle it because it will blow up any kind of potato PC that you might have. So it's a bit unfortunate in that regard, but it is what it is. There is no mythic affixes for this week because there are no mythics this week. Season 2 has not begun yet. Season 2 begins next week on the next reset, Tuesday for NA. EU is on Wednesday. The thing that I wanted to have a look at that was in World of Warcraft, it's not a spell, but it is the history of honor talents. Now, honor talents you think are, you go on your little talent tree, and there's a little section in the bottom right for these PvP talents. Well, this wasn't usually the case. This wasn't the case. The very first iteration of honor talents, PvP talents, came in Legion. And in Legion, it was very, very different. So essentially what you had is a grid. Think of this grid as a 3 by 6, I believe. So you have about 18 different things that you can have. The top row is your medallion, your relentless, and your adaptation trinket. And then the 5 rows below are spells. You could utilize one of these talents or talents essentially per row. So you could pick a Gladiator's Medallion, a Relentless, or Adaptation Trinket, and that would be your trinket. You could go to the row below and pick one spell or passive from that row. You can do the same for every row. But here's the weird thing. You were actually having to unlock these talents. So as you progress in leveling, you unlock these talents, these PvP talents that we know them today. You just hit a simple level requirement, level 45, and by the time you hit level 65, you've unlocked every single PvP talent, so you can test them out for 5 levels, that kind of thing. When you hit max level in Legion, you had this come up, and it was a honor sort of leveling system. What you did, you had to level from level 1 to level 50, and when you got to a certain level, you unlocked the abilities. And this was really quite stupid, but a cool idea, but very stupid in terms of it was always going to be unfair. Because those who played for 24 hours in a day got all of their PvP talents unlocked within that day. Those who played for an hour a day for a couple weeks would make it about halfway through this honor level system. Therefore, you would actually have less honor talents to pick from than the person who played for 24 hours. And it was a very unfair system in that regard. So this is as follows. Level 1, you got your Gladiator's Medallion talent that you unlocked. At level 2, you are going down the tree, so you start from the top left and you go down. So Medallion top left, level 2, you unlock your very first PvP talent. Level 4, you unlock your second one. 6, 8, and 10 are the next ones. That is your first row done. When you get to level 13, you unlock adaptation. So you get to pick between Gladiator's Medallion and adaptation in that top row. The second row, level 16, level 19, 22, 25, and 28. This is what you needed to unlock the entirety of the second row. Okay, so about halfway through, and you've unlocked over half, which is good, which is very good. But most of the talents that were actually quite good were obviously in the last row. So level 31 is when you unlock the top right talent, Relentless. And then at level 34, 37, 40, 43, and 46 is your very last PvP or honor talent, essentially. Once you hit level 46, this is when you could pick any of these talents because they had all been unlocked. But essentially, you were gate-kept because of how much PvP you did. If you did next to none, you're not going to get all of these PvP talents. If you did loads, you'll get them immediately and have the upper hand on those in arenas. Or battlegrounds or rated battlegrounds. You'd have an upper hand in anything related to PvP, especially if you jumped into PvP as your very first battleground and people and the week and the season had been started a month ago. You would be on level 1 honor or level 1, honor level 1, that's the word, and they would be on level 50. They would have a massive advantage on you because they have 3 extra talents. No, I lied. They would have 5 extra talents plus the trinket. So you'd be at a massive disadvantage, and it would just feel really shit to grind, I'm not going to lie. But at the same time, it's a very cool concept. When you hit level 50, you essentially got to prestige. And what this prestige did was kind of give you a couple cosmetics, I believe, when you hit a certain prestige, but it didn't do much. The annoying thing about this, when the honor system was brought in, when you prestiged, you went back to level 0, and you thought, okay, well, I've been level 50, so surely Blizzard will let me keep my honor talents. Yeah, no, of course I wouldn't. This was obviously changed in the very first patch afterwards, but essentially, for about 2 months, if you prestiged, you had to go through all of the 50 levels again in order to get these PvP talents, and it's a massive ball ache. You'd be put at a disadvantage when you've already grinded all of the honor talents. There was obviously no reason to prestige. If you were looking to do like rated arenas, not just PvP for fun, like battlegrounds, etc., because you probably might not have cared as much in that regard. But yeah, so about a month or a couple months later, they basically made it so that when you prestiged, you managed to keep all of the PvP honor levels, which is good, which is very good. A lot of the talents that were in this honor level system are ones that we know now. Stuff that's like rushing tiger palm, where essentially it slows their movement speed. You know, you've got deep roots, which makes druids entangling roots no longer break when the target is damaged, that kind of thing. You have a lot of like these honor talents that were basically put into PvP talents. It wasn't anything special thing. Yeah, it's just really weird. It was there for one expansion and then it was gone. It was updated into PvP talents, which is a better form of doing it. But I do like the idea that they had where you could basically put everything into a grid and it's like, oh, you can pick and choose, you know, it's kind of a more... It feels like you're interacting a bit more with it rather than just, PvP talent, that one, done. It feels like there was something to it. Maybe you could do one in the future where it's like all of the PvP talents are on there, but when you reach a certain PvP level, you get to pick a spell and it gets customized. Not like anything crazy, I'm just talking about the looks of it. So, kind of like with Starfall for druids, there is a glyph in the game that changes your Starfall to give it a more solar appearance. So it's more, fiery stars, that kind of thing. You get to personally pick a spell of yours, a PvP talent, to customize, whether it be the color of the stuff or whatever, how it's thrown out, the animation that you use, whatever. But I think that it could be a very cool way of customizing your character, because it might do some really cool looking combos or something. Like, you can punch people as a monk and then into a rising uppercut, although it looks really cool now, but you can do like a leg sweep instead. Like, that kind of thing. Just visually pleasing, I guess. It is one of them things. It would be nice to see, at the very least, but yeah, PvP talents definitely were a step in the right direction over these honor talents. Yeah, here we go. It lasted for 3 months, where if you prestiged, you basically had all of your honor talents refunded because, well, you're not on a level 50 now, you're on a level 1. So, that's rough. It's really rough. It's really, really rough. But let's get into the main part of the episode. 10.1. My thoughts on it so far are actually really, really good. I really am enjoying it. Now, this comes from a PvP standpoint more than anything. It's purely on the basis that when a new patch is dropped, you have a lot of changes in this patch, whether it be baseline changes, such as PvP crits are reduced, or whether it be class changes like Star Search damage increased by 20%, or mages' fire damage increased by a certain amount because mages were all about crit, and critting is a lot less effective, that kind of thing. So, from a perspective, I think that it will be a really good patch. I would like to see, a couple things that they might be working on after this week. So they'll probably have all the data, but I would love to see, okay, these sort of spells are being a bit too crazy. We'll keep an eye on them when the PvP season releases or when Mythic releases, that kind of thing. And then we can look to scale them down, kind of give information on what they are looking at and what seems to be maybe going a bit crazy, maybe not too crazy, maybe it could do with another buff, a change, that kind of thing. Because I'll take an example here. The Dying Stars talent, it got a change. It went from it gives you astral power when it is dispelled to they become vulnerable and take 15% increased damage from Moonfire and Sunfire. 15% on 2 dots that are not ticking for a lot isn't a lot. I'm not going to lie. That is not very good dispel protection, and I don't think you would ever take it. I don't think you would ever take that talent. There's obviously a lot of contested stuff for Boomkins, such as High Winds, Alkin Adapt. You have even the stuff like Master Shapeshifter now might be good. I've yet to test that out, but it might be decent, who knows. You have a lot of different things. Starburst if you're running AoE build. So it's very highly contested, and it probably won't see any sort of use, Dying Stars. 15% on 2 dots doesn't necessarily make it good. If it was when they dispel, they take 15% increased damage overall, like from all sources, then suddenly it's worth looking at. And the thing is, that isn't out of like they've put in Discord Orb from Overwatch. They've put in Discord Orb from Zenyatta into World of Warcraft for monks, for Mistweaver monks. Why can't they do that for a Dispel protection? Because the Dispel protection is on the target that dispelled, so it is most likely not them who is getting attacked. They might be susceptible to being swapped to, but with the monk one, where it increases the damage they take from all sources by 10%, they can put on anyone, the monk. They can put that on anyone with no cost at all, no mana cost, no cooldown, and the only thing that they can do is give up a GCD for it, a global cooldown. So maybe if they added that instead of the current Dying Stars effect, then it might be useful. But, I would like to hope that they're looking at these sort of talents and thinking, okay, maybe it's not great. We can have a look at, sprucing it up a bit, making it a bit more lively. Like, they suddenly implode and take 200% increased damage. Obviously, I'm going a bit over the top. But, like, it'd be crazy. I'm down for any crazy ideas they want to test out with like talents and stuff in PvP, PvE. I think it's better if they just go absolutely crazy, like every now and again. It's like, yep, you get a change, you get a change, and then it's like, yeah, no, we're actually taking these back. These don't look good. It's really not good for the health of the game or the environment or whatever. So yeah. Oh my god, I've completely forgotten what the point was. Sorry, I just went straight into that. But essentially, what a new patch brings is all of these changes, and that is what I look forward to the most when it happens. But we obviously have stuff like a new zone. The new zone is located underneath Dragon Isles, and it's got 3 entrances. In Onaran Plains a couple, and Azure Span 1. It's a good zone. It's actually a really cool zone, cool looking zone. It gives me... Now, people might not get this reference, but Ark vibes. Ark, the video game, and it more specifically gives me the Aberration map vibes. It looks very cool, colourful, actually quite nice to fly around in there. There's some nice spots where I can just chill out when in a arena queue. You know, just pick a spot, chill out, look down upon the entire cavern, as there's like this little sort of mouth opening that I can sit up where there's some crystals at the top. You know, it's very picturesque almost. Very nice to just look at. So the new zone is a massive W. It's got obviously Aberrus at the very top. It's got some wastelands. It's got a nice shadowed flame thing. I don't even know how to describe it. It's giant and it looks so badass. It's so cool. And you do some quests around there and stuff like that. Looks very cool. You have like everything a new zone needs essentially. Rather than, if you compare it to Shadowlands 9.1, what we got in that patch was Korthia. And I don't need to tell you how much of a shit show that was. Korthia was very much just part of the Moor. And, we'd been going to the Moor because we were forced to essentially for an entire patch for an entire several months. And seeing, this is going to sound stupid, but seeing more minions really didn't fill you with hope. It was very bleak. It was very much, I don't want to be back here. This is an annoying place kind of deal. It wasn't great. So this is a complete change up because in Dragon Isles, you're soaring through the skies. The skybox is super high. You can see mountains, hilltops, snowy mountains, like cities everywhere, like towns everywhere. You can see loads of stuff. And then suddenly you're in this cavern. You've got this massive fireball thing. You've got a laboratory. You've got some wasteland. You've got some Titanic shit. It's so amazing. So the new zone is a massive win already. I could spend a lot of time in there just chilling out, essentially. Quests. Now, 3, I believe? Yes, 3 of the 7 chapters, I think it's 7, of the campaign released. A lot of them are very good. I experienced no bugs. The only thing I didn't necessarily enjoy was doing the little scenario bit at the start where you travel with Rathian and Sibelian. It's a small little scenario just to get you into the zone itself. But I didn't necessarily enjoy it. I've never been one for scenarios. I've always been like enjoying the open world kind of thing, and it's just power through, get what I need, and that kind of thing. Like, I love the content. I absolutely love the questing and stuff. I like the storyline quests especially. Especially with like Ebonhorn, sorry, not Ebonthorn. Ebonhorn, like Sibelian, Rathian. It's all good fun, and it's good to see the story progress. I do need to say this one thing though. Ebonhorn, please make him the Black Dragon aspect. For the love of God, he deserves it more than the other 2, because the other 2 are just absolute fucking bitching crybabies. So please just give Ebonhorn Black Dragonflight aspect. Thank you very much. That is my one request for this patch. The items that you can get. Now, I've had a look around the town, the Loam town, and with these little mole people, which, by the way, the mole people, amazing. I absolutely love them. They remind me of like small NPCs from Conker's Bad Fur Day, a very old game, and essentially like just the way they talk, the way they present themselves, the way that they walk. It's very much old video game Conker's Bad Fur Day vibes that I got from it. So massive win there, and I'm absolutely loving it. But the items that you can get around this town, you can get everything. You can get loads of different recipes from each individual trader. So dual crafting, you can get a few or a couple pieces. Engineering, you can get a couple pieces. Description, you can get a few pieces. I said engineering. Blacksmithing, you can get a couple, etc. So there's something for every specialization, and they're not giving up on the specializations because they make new things for it. So there's new stuff that you could put into making these pieces. One of these things is a shadow flame crescent or something, and new embellishments, they're called, to give your items a certain unique effect. One of these embellishments is precognition. This is a PvP one. And essentially what you need to do is get this embellishment by doing a couple quests. You get 25 barters, bucks, or whatever it's called, and you trade that for an item, and then you trade that item to get the recipe, that kind of thing. It's really good. It has a lot of replayability, obviously, and the items that are down there are very cool. There's some gimmicky stuff. There's some toys, there's a couple mounts that you can buy, there's currencies that you need to farm to buy these mounts, and there's a lot of things that you can do, like, to basically keep yourself going in this patch, which is really, really good, and that's always a win in my book. Alts. It seems alt-friendly. It does. The only thing that excuse me, the only thing that I can think of is skipping the scenario at the start. Because if you are a healer player, going through that scenario is a little bit more tedious than, say, someone who can AoE really heavily. I went through on my boomkin at the start. I pulled absolutely everything, killed everything very quickly, was no problem. I don't play much Warlock, but I play Destro or Affliction. In this case, I was playing Destro. And I went down there without any sort of AoE, and it did take me a while. I died accidentally trying to pull too much. When I realised I didn't have AoE, I was, it didn't go well. Essentially, you kind of maybe want to put a skip in for those who have healers, or even if you're in a healer spec. But that kind of just means that everyone who has a healer spec will switch to that, and then obviously just skip it. It's very tough, but I think enabling the skip for ults might just be a nice thing to do, like travel straight to the town and get through the Rathian and Sibelian part almost. But other than that, I don't see much wrong with how easy it is or will be to gear ults as of yet. We'll only see in Season 2, but I'm pretty sure nothing has changed in that regard. Talents, I've gone over them a bit, but I'll go over my personal thoughts on Boomkin talents. You've given us a lot. I can't thank you enough for changing the talents, but some of them are a bit annoying to get to in terms of the layout of the talent tree. You certainly did your job in saying, because I believe that I read somewhere that you wanted the bottom choice talents for Boomkin to be a lot more usable or picked up. And I think that you've definitely done that with the Radiant Moonlight on the bottom right-hand side. The bottom middle is kind of still very much meh. But the Friend of the Fae one is amazing, so thank you very much for that. But you've put so many things at the bottom, and I can't get all of them. I want Orbit Breaker, I want my Incarn, I want everything down there, but I just can't, and it feels really annoying. Considering if I look at another classes talent tree, some things that are really good and really sort of or how much it impacts their specialization is somewhat near the top or bottom or middle of the tree sometimes. But it is what it is. I'm very grateful for the talent trees, and I think that them constantly moving and chopping and changing stuff is always a positive when it comes to the talent trees. I'd rather them be doing that rather than having the same talent tree for over a couple years, and then it's like, oh yeah, we're redesigning the talent trees, and then they move like one spell to the left, and it's like, oh, that's kind of shitty to be waiting 2 years for that, but it is what it is. How much fun is it? That's the question. Now, I personally really enjoyed it. I've personally enjoyed the switching of all of the talents for certain specs, like priests, shamans, maybe get a couple things extra. The PvP talents especially, there's new ones, old ones have gone. The now have to make precognition on my boots, which I have done already. And I'm all for that. I'm all for having casters having precognition all the time, because I am a caster that doesn't have a kick. So I'm not going to be giving anyone precog. Yeah, all of the changes that have happened in 10.1, I'm absolutely adoring. I really, really am. And that's what makes the game fun, in my opinion. When there is a bulk patch, and this bulk patch basically changes so many things in the game. That's what I like about it. So, in terms of fun at the moment, I'd have to give it a good 8 out of 10, honestly. I love the new zone. I love the new faction in the zone, especially. I love all the small things you can do in the zone, all of the different currencies you can get. Definitely love the talents, the balance changes, the quest lines, like the actual quest story campaigns itself. Absolutely everything I think is a massive W right now. And if they just keep on top of it, and honestly, I would like to see a little bit more in terms of just, we're keeping an eye on this thing, like Skull Splitter, or we're keeping an eye on Full Moon, or we're keeping an eye on another spell. I've completely forgotten a spell. Stormkeeper, something like that. It might be overperforming, but we're just keeping an eye on it just to see how it does when the start of Season 2 happens. That kind of thing. But yeah, I definitely can't complain. It has been very, very good so far, and that's only spending a couple days on the patch. When Season 2 comes out, I'll probably be the complete opposite. I'm not going to lie, because a paladin will one-shot me or something, and I'll be like, yeah, this patch is dead. Screw ret paladins, just nerf them, delete them, that kind of thing. But that is it for this episode. Thank you all very much for listening. Do check out the Patreon as well as Twitch and YouTube. Constant stuff happening over there. Thank you all very much for listening, and go with Valor, friend. Goodbye all.